This is the fifth episode of the Swedest Deal. This time I'm talking to German poker pro George Danzer. He was a big name back in the poker day. He's still busy, but not with poker. We're going to talk about the year when he won 3 bracelets during the World Series of Poker and how life has been since then. This podcast is possible thanks to our cooperation with Intertop's Poker. I hope you enjoy this talk. So this is Rikard talking to George Danzer in this episode of the Swedest Deal. George, how are you?
Very good, thanks.
It's good to see you again. It's been quite a few years. How's life these days? Is it good?
It's fine for us. Like it's a little bit crazy around the world these days. So it's every day is a little bit humbling with what's happening out there. But I can't complain, so I'm not gonna.
That's great. I mean, the idea for this series was that during the years for myself, between 2005 maybe and 2016, was those years I was in a bubble of poker, and I guess quite a few of us were. So when did you get into becoming a face, a name in poker, and how did that come to?
Pretty much the same time frame. So I played professionally, like full time, for exactly those 10 years. So from 2016 to 2006 to 2016. I started playing a little bit earlier. I just checked when I first played online. It was in 1999.
The very beginning, right? Was it Paradise
I was
Poker?
right there when the first play money poker over the internet popped up. So yeah.
That was like, was it Paradise Poker, or do you remember the sites?
Those were the sites.
Yeah. I remember
Poker
that
in Europe, Paradise
Yeah.
Poker. They don't even, or maybe they exist, but I haven't seen them for a long time. Royal Vegas Poker, that was a good one. I think in 2001 I won. No, I didn't win. I final tabled the Students Championship. So you had to send your papers in that you were studying at the university, and they had a tournament only for students. It had 65,000 runners.
That's a lot. That's
Yes.
Crazy. Did it run smoothly, and did it work? I mean,
it worked out, and first prize was like a full scholarship, which in the US is probably 6 figures, right?
Yeah. Oh,
they had
that was
a
big.
huge prize, and I think I finished sixth or eighth, I'm not sure, and I got like $800, and that was huge for myself. But the first prize was the scholarship, so that's what I don't even know if I would have gotten it if I won it. But those were the crazy days. You had play money, you had some sites that had prizes and like fancy tournaments and everything.
Yeah, I remember that. I was into that too, and for myself, I was when I went to school, I was a chess player, and then I started to play backgammon. So kind of poker always were there for me as well when I grew up playing a bit of poker. What was it that made you suit the poker world? Why did it fit you to play poker?
So apologies if we got some kids in the
background. It's part of life, right? Yeah.
So that's the new life, right? After poker. But I was a chess player when I was a kid. So I won the Portuguese championship when I was 9 and played for them the world championships and stuff like that. And I just always played chess until I was 15. And we just started playing Texas Hold'em in the breaks when we didn't have those chess tournaments with the kids. We're always like 5-hour games of chess, and then the evening was free for all the Bavarian championships and national championships and everything I played around those times. And we just got together and played Texas Hold'em. I don't even remember who was the guy who brought that game in, but that was just the game we played. And so when I was 15, 16, I already had put in a lot of hours in Texas Hold'em where nobody in Germany even had played it before. So that's how I got a little bit of a head start into poker. And as soon as I turned 18 and was able to play in Sweden, that was my first trip. I went to Sweden to play a poker tournament. Yes. And my first tournament was in Gothenburg. So
was it at the casino there or what?
yes, the Christmas Poker Open, it's
Oh
called.
wow, that's funny. Yeah, you know I'm Swedish. I've been there a lot. Yeah.
Yes, and you can't even make it up. But the guy who took me out of the main event was William Turshen
Oh
in the
wow,
first ever tournament I
wow,
played.
wow. What year are we talking now? You say?
So when I turned 18, that's 2001.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, William Thorsson. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's 20 years ago. That's pretty sick.
Yeah. So that's how I got into it. And I just loved it. From the first time I played a live tournament, I knew, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. And I went back to that tournament for a lot of years consecutively. Always when I was single back in the days, right? And I could just decide where I spent my Christmas. I went to Gothenburg to play that tournament. I stayed in the small hostel down the road from where the casino's on the sea, right? And you go street up to the right side.
I know.
And that hostel, that's my place. And I went with a friend of mine and we played that tournament.
Wow, that's great. Because the Swedish casino there, when they started the poker room, I mean, it was really well run and it was really well organized and safe and everything. So I know quite a few people came from abroad to play in Gothenburg mainly and play this Christmas poker week. It was huge. It was good.
Yeah.
Did you have any success?
I cashed, but nothing major. I was doing okay always. Like it was a vacation trip. I didn't really treat it. Oh, I go there and then I play for 2 weeks and I want to earn like my $500 a day or something in EV. No, that was just a relaxing time to go with a friend, play the 1 or 2 events, and the rest of the time we just spent in the city or watched Johnny Lodden battle.
Yeah.
He was always there too.
Yeah.
I met a lot of the Scandinavian players always there. So sometimes even a crazy cash game popped up out of nothing, right? Where everybody just went all in blind, and then we went to town and.
It's funny because the Swedes were really early, and I remember Johnny was always like, he came into it as well, and it was like a group of maybe 10 guys, and a lot of them were Swedes, Bengt Sonnert and all those guys, you know, Sargon Ruya, the Giant, and a lot of guys. So
I learned it online in one of the first sites I played. I always had one guy who was really good and was beating me, and I was beating most of the other guys. So one day I just asked, what am I doing wrong? And he helped me out. His nickname was Pokerbot, without the vocals, just Pokerbot.
Yeah.
And he just told me what to do, and he was from Sweden too. I don't remember his real name now, but that's actually the guy who first was a little bit of a mentor on that poker side. And I just had some books that were not really good back in the day, still decent books. And if you work your way into with like Sklansky's theory of poker, stuff like that, you get a little bit into, but then you need help to really become a good poker player, right? And that was my help, Pokerbot.
Wow, that's funny. That was very nice of him, because in those days there was always these edges, but he was really good. I mean, he was really good. What do you remember any specific details that kind of made you aha?
Yeah, he just said, you have to fold ace jack, right? And I would never fold ace jack. And as soon as I started doing that, I started winning. So he just had to say like 3 words and I was already better. You know?
Wow.
Just my frequency, how I played ace jack was too bad, right? I raised it like under the gun and I was 3-bet calling with it, which in spots is okay, but I just didn't choose them right. And he said, drop that and
you're fine.
Already I was a winning player.
I guess it was more details than that, but maybe that's the one you remember.
Exactly, yeah. Because it's 20 years back, right? So.
Yeah, of course. No, I played some in then too. The thing is that there were so many really, really bad players back then. So you could be just a little bit above average and you'll be winning, right?
Exactly. That's how it worked. I was really, really bad, and I still could win enough to like sustain my studies back in the day before I decided, no, I really want to go on tour with that. I was still studying and played it on the side, but I didn't need any support from the state or from my parents anymore with
nice.
the poker thing.
I used to work in nightclubs to support myself like a few days a week. That was my income way. I wasn't good enough to make money on poker for some reason.
I did that every Tuesday too. I was the guy doing the beers in
Yeah,
the German bar in Freiburg where I studied
yeah,
every Tuesday.
yeah. But that's great. You were never really. I think when we talked back, one of the first interviews, you never were into cash games much, right?
Oh yes.
Well, did you play a lot cash games?
Not a lot, but yes, always went in swings for me. I jumped around during the career quite a bit. So there was a time where I just like 12 table limit hold'em 5-10
Wow, wow.
for a million hands, you know.
Yeah, okay,
I,
okay.
I found some old screenshots where I just had 100,000 hands in 1 month of 5-10 limit hold'em.
Wow. That's
So
grinding, man. That's grinding.
yes, it was like I think I was punishing myself for something. I like spewed some in a tournament and just said, "Now you just sit down and play 100,000 hands in a month of limit hold'em, and then you know what real work is again." You
Yeah,
know
but
that
I mean,
those kind of things.
if you did that, did you? I mean, did you see? Then you could almost find a pretty steady income, even if poker is very it go up and down. But I mean, did you make a steady profit doing that?
That was my life from 2006 to 2010, where I just grinded it out with some cash games online or live, and then put together a roll, went to Vegas for the World Series, and just dropped it all during the series.
Here
And
you
then
go,
I went
boys.
Yeah, exactly. I went home broke, and then I sat down and played Limit Hold'em 12 tables again and built it out again for next year. And then I had like the
Really? Wow.
50K to drop at the World Series, and I did it 4 years straight. So
Wow. And is it that's so mechanical in a way, but and you couldn't just catch a break in Vegas for some reason, but those years.
it was so crazy. And there were years I played, I'm sure I played better than in good years like 212. Probably my best year was 213 actually, where I just was really focused and played well. And even in that year, I did like okay-ish. And the year 2014, where everything went right, I wasn't even that great, like in a mindset and playing so great. It's just, you never know. And in the years 6 to 10, I couldn't catch a break. Like one of the hands is even like became quite a famous when I lost to Dmitry Nobles in the main event, and I had a
Yeah.
huge chip stack and the perfect table and everything, and I was sure I was winning it, and then I just lose on a like 20% for the opponent. I just lose like 1 million in equity, and that was the 2006, right? And it was every year was like that for 6 to 10, and I just had a nice rhythm for me. I wasn't even mad when I went home from Vegas. I said, yeah, same as every year, and just took like 2 weeks off. I always went to Sweden, to the north of Sweden, to the national parks that are up there, where you are completely alone.
Yeah.
You probably know
Of
them.
course. It's like a meditation,
Yeah,
like getting away from everything.
exactly. Just with a backpack and in the middle of nowhere. I sat down for 2 weeks, and then I came back and started grinding again.
Wow,
It was
wow.
like clockwork. Every year
Yeah.
was the same.
But what was it? Because I remember in the early days when PokerStars started to take bigger pieces of the market, and they decided that they wanted you as a poster boy in a way, right? Well, how did that come to?
Yes, that was really early. The German manager Sven, thank you again, Sven, for taking me on the ride. He wanted to have like a ambassador team for the German market, and just got together the people that had a little bit of name or created content. Back then, I was writing a blog, the Poker Amigos, with a friend of mine, Jan,
Yeah.
and we already put some stuff. So they knew that we were doing it in the early days of poker, and so they put us on the team and supported us. And that went on for 10 years. I stayed there.
Wow.
So
Did you enjoy writing there? Was it like helping you, or was that a good thing to write and to blog about it?
yeah, I did it for I think 2 years regularly, and then I switched to Twitch. I started streaming my tournaments. I enjoyed more the talking to the people and writing in the chat instead of putting out the static blocks, more interactive.
Yeah.
So I started streaming the Scoop and W Coop, like the big tournaments, and like every second Sunday, I just went online and talked to people. And,
yeah. What year was that? Would you say, George? When you started twitching?
I would have to check my account since it exists.
Because
13, maybe.
Something 14, like that. Because Twitch came into the picture quite late. Because I remember when I started working for PokerTube in 2008 or something. I used to do those recordings, not Twitch, because Twitch wasn't there yet. And I used to because I like to mix games like you do. And I used to play Badoogie, and I played 8th game. On Sundays, I had a very good tournament for a $109 tournament, I think, on PokerStars. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I played that a lot too.
Yeah, the 931. I think you and I met there many times, and I was pretty good at it, you know. So I always played that 9:30 8th-game tournament, and I used to record it and put it up on PokerTube. Did you look on PokerTube a lot, or?
I think I saw it. I had there was a time when PokerTube was the big thing, so I watched a lot of videos there. But I think I actually saw some of your mixed game videos too.
Yeah, that was totally amateur, but it was quite new for so many. So I didn't aim it for the pros, of course. I aimed it for people who haven't tried it yet. And I mean, why did you like the mixed game more, or quite a lot at least? Why did you take interest to those games?
I always wanted to learn everything, so that's why I just one year I sat down and just played limit hold'em, and 1 year I sat down and said it's going to be deuce to 7. Somebody told me about deuce to 7 during the World Series, and I just sat down and put everything in deuce to 7 and tried to become good. And 1 year I just sat down and said, okay, I want to learn how to play heads up. I just put starting hand charts for every stack size and for button and like for both positions. I put on the wall. My whole wall was plastered with standing hand charts, and I went with crayons, different colors, and just colored all day and had like big stacks of starting hand charts on my table, and I colored them in and I taped them to my wall. So in the end, my whole wall was just colored starting hand charts for heads up. And then I just played like 5,000 heads up sit and goes in January, February. That was in 2014. That was the good year. And yeah, but there was other variations out there, but I just focused on one thing. I want to learn it. In these days, you couldn't play heads up without beating the cartel. There was a cartel on Stars. You remember that time? So they would just like switch out. They had a rule who is allowed to play the fish. And when you come in new, of course, you're the fish. So I was always playing against one of the cartel guys who had a certain rate how often they are allowed to play against.
Wow.
So all I was playing was the best heads up set, because I didn't want to play like the $10 thing. So I played like 100 to a 500 heads up sit and goes, and only played against the cartel and Doug Polk. And Doug Polk was always shit talking me. He was the worst. He was always in the chat and telling me what a donkey I was and stuff like that. We got into a fight in the chat.
Really?
Doug Polk and I. Yes.
Wow.
And in the end, I actually finished up against the cartel after 2,200 heads up sit and goes, and then I played another 2,800 six max sit and goes. So I played the 5,000 sit and goes in total. And then I felt, okay, you learned it. And after rake, I was up. So I felt like, okay. And they wouldn't still let me in. And then it just got too gruesome. Why should I like try to beat the cartel for my whole life? Either you get in or not. And I learned enough. I made a little bit of a profit. I learned trash talking from Doug Polk. And then I went on with my life and prepared for the World Series, because that was always in those years after the screw up years,
Yeah.
6 to 10, I had like the good years where it was always focused, January, February, learning something new, like I explained how my mind worked for stuff like that. And then beginning March, there was always the final of the European Poker Tour, so I had to focus a little bit. You went in February, there was Prague, right? And then
Right.
we went to like San Remo, and then in May was Monte Carlo. And in between that was the Scoop. So that was 3 weeks grinding, mixed game tournament. So really get prepared for the World Series. I think I still have the most cashes in the Scoop.
Yeah.
Worldwide, even after like 5 years off, nobody's catching up because they're too lazy, I think.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Yeah, I remember that was such a grind, and always I played all the mixed games then also during Scoop, and just looking at the charts, getting points and see where you ended up. It was fun. And you are still number one there, you think, or
I
you
think
know?
so. I
Yeah.
haven't looked it up for a couple of years, but I can't imagine somebody catching up ever in that,
No.
because that was my grind, right? I
Yeah.
just played every Scoop tournaments for 4 years in a row.
Right.
And then finally I ended up winning it. That was the worst. The
Yeah.
year I won it, that was the worst, because they called me. Then after the Scoop, there was Monte Carlo, right? Then straight to the World Series for the real tournament. And I'm sitting at my second final table in 2014, I think the '08 final table. They call me, George, there was some miscalculations, and they took away the leaderboard in 2014. I won the Scoop leaderboard, and they took it away because there was a miscalculation in one of the tournaments. Probably Nick Girano can tell you a couple of stories about how that can happen.
Wow.
So that was the year they got me, and I was so mad. I busted it sixth in the tournament, and I was
Oh,
even
that's
more
terrible.
mad.
That's
Yes.
terrible. Yeah, okay. You know, I mean, it's fun. I think the mixed game, because everyone played No Limit Hold'em all the time and only those tournaments, but making it into the mixed games, it kind of gave you a bit of a challenge and more interest.
Exactly. That was it. Just picking up a new challenge, getting into it. And then with all the mixed games, you have better chances for leaderboards too. And that was
Yeah.
always something that I enjoyed a lot, to running for leaderboard, no matter if it was Scoop, W Coop, World Series of
Yeah.
Poker. I always wanted to have a chance of winning that. And you can only do that if you know the mixed games. So that was one of the things why I got into it.
Yeah, I remember that for the early years. I don't remember what year, but the ones that made it to the World Series of Poker Player of the Year, they were the guys that played those tournaments with 120 players or 250 players instead of 3,000 players. And especially in the mixed games, there was always some people that ran in there and jumped into the tournament and didn't have one clue. They didn't know what they were doing. So it was quite easy sometimes against some opponents, right?
Yeah, so the tournament, the EV in the tournaments was fine, like, because you have a lot of experts that only play that game, so they probably have an advantage on you too. So they had advantage on me, so especially in stud and games like that, there was always players who were way better than me in stud. But because I had all of the games in my repertoire, there was still enough people in that tournaments that I could easily beat in stud, right? And then there was games I was better at and games that I was not so good at. But overall, I had a decent grasp over all the poker games out there.
Yeah, after being, I don't know if you had any other girlfriends, but I know you said that you met your girlfriend, now mother to your kids. Are you married? You're not married yet.
No,
No,
we're
no,
not
no,
married.
no.
No, we're
Living in
together.
sin. That's perfect. Now, did you meet her in what was it? 2010, 2011, something?
It was end of 2009, like really, really end of the year. I was going to a party with a friend of mine, and she lived with one of my school buddies in Munich in a shared space. So she opened the door, we went in, and the guy I really liked her, so I wanted to talk to her, but my buddy, he was allergic to cats, and they had 2 cats. So after 5 minutes, he's completely red and like completely out of his mind, and we had to leave the apartment. So I just saw her for like 10 minutes total, and then accidentally I meet her again on New Year's Eve. That was on the 26th. It was like a Christmas party we had, and then on New Year's Eve I met her when we were watching the fireworks in the big place where in Munich is the Oktoberfest.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people go there. And she and her friend were there. And I had to leave for the Bahamas because PCA always starts in the beginning of January, right? So I had my train scheduled for 3:30 in the morning that goes to Frankfurt to fly. So
on January 1st.
Yeah. Yeah. On January 1st. So I'm still there on New Year's Eve. We see and then it's 12:30 and said, oh, sorry, I have to go. I have to pack my bags. I'm going to the Bahamas. And she says, I wish I could go to the Bahamas too. And I said, yeah, let's go.
Really?
And she was like, is this guy serious? And the other guy who knew I was a little bit crazy, but it's not out of the possibilities that I am serious. Said, I think he's serious. I said, no, it's serious. Give me your number and your birth date and your name, and I'll just send you your ticket in 1 hour before I can go. And she was like, well, okay, here's the number. And I had to rush home, like book another ticket. I hadn't packed anything. Like now it's 1 o'clock. I have like 2 hours to get everything done and tickets and everything. But I managed to get everything together and booked her a ticket. The next available was like 12 hours before after my flight. Not for the same flight, but for the next, of course. So I sent her the ticket and off I went to the Bahamas and arrived there. And you know how the mobile coverage is in the Bahamas. It sucks so bad you can't reach anybody at home. Right. So I didn't know if she was going to come or not. And she was fighting. Like her father said, if you go to the Bahamas with a guy you just talk 10 minutes to and he's a poker player, then I'm not talking a word with you again ever in your life. Like, and her grandmother said, wow, that's the best thing. Pack your bikini. It's going to be great. And it was like all these things. She got the visa settled, but in the end, she came. So we had a nice trip. I like pinked, no, the other way around. I bricked all the tournaments in the Bahamas, of course. Of course. So that was like the worst PCA, like money-wise. But yeah, now we have 2 kids and are together.
Wow, that's a nice story.
2010. So yeah, it was.
That's so cool that she kind of trusted her gut instinct and thought, yeah, why not?
I mean, it was awesome. And now I'm good with all the family too. So it turned out perfect.
Wow, and I mean, if you wouldn't have seen her on this fireworks thing, and you maybe would never see her again, you know? Maybe. Yeah. Right.
Or if she decided, oh, it's too risky, right?
yeah. Like some people would probably say, nice idea, but maybe later, you know?
Yeah, you have to take a little bit of risks. You always have to take. Not too big, but.
And you're happy now?
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's great. We have 2 kids now. We moved to a city where she has a cool job, and it's turned out really great.
Yeah, we'll get to that soon. But I just want to hear about because the 2014 was just such everything fell into place. And you said you weren't maybe that focused, but did you win 3 bracelets that year?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
It just started good on a deuce to 7 tournament where, like, I think it was the 3rd of the year.
Yeah.
I always come in hot, so I play all the tournaments at the beginning and see if I can make something happen for the leaderboard. And I only take a break during the World Series if I'm out of the running for leaderboard.
Yeah.
So in this year, I just came in with a final table in the deuce to 7. Which was a really nice start because now you know, oh, this is not going to be a really bad World Series. It's not going to be 2006 to 2010 going home broke because I think I cashed for 50K or something like that, which is already a nice chunk for the buy-ins. So and then just a week later, I won my first bracelet in the Res event, if I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah, I
correctly.
think it was the rest,
Yeah,
10,000. Those tournaments were usually the 10,000 one. They called it the championship events. With the
exactly. Yeah.
big, do you remember how many players were in it approximately?
It's always around 100 and something.
Yeah, yeah, like 110, 130, something like
Yes,
that.
that was the numbers of the
And
most of the championship events.
and of course, it was always all those really big names played those tournaments. It was really stacked with the famous guys, you know, the big
Yeah,
names.
exactly. And I had a nice rail on that final table too. Some of my friends that had already rooted for me. I think I had like 12 final tables before that and hadn't
Yeah,
won one.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
a couple of them got tired and said, "No, I'm not gonna go to a final table of George again. It's
Uh,
gonna be." But a couple of them, of my good friends, were there, and even like a football player I know from Germany who I taught how to play Dus the Seven, for example, was on the rail. So it was really cool when I needed an ace on the squeeze.
yeah,
I
yeah,
got
yeah.
the ace. I still remember the first bracelet, and it just went like ace.
Yeah, yeah, it was beautiful. It was so much. It's interesting because it was such a. I don't know if you should call it a bubble because bubble is usually something that bursts, which this one did as well. But we lived in a kind of a protected environment. All the people that were involved in poker, media and players, of course, and everyone. So it was just like a separated world from the normal world. Did you think about that a lot, or because when you were in there, you were just in this bubble?
Yeah. What I did was with my girlfriend who had a job in her own bubble,
Yeah.
the theater bubble, that I always helped out in between. So I would always take breaks on the poker tour and just come back to a different world. And theater world is like completely, it's still its own bubble, but very much distance from the poker bubble, the way people are in the theater bubble. And I was always jump into that too and help out with the pieces and help out with the productions of her, and then the reset in the north of Sweden. That's the two ways I try to get back into,
Wow.
like, out of the poker bubble.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. You always find a way because some people were just in there all the time, playing online, and I think that was not great because then years passed and maybe you had money, but you didn't know anything outside the poker. So I think it was
Yeah.
important to also not pass all those years without getting some other experience. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I see that still, that a couple of people who are trying to get out after same burned out 15 years of poker, that it's not easy to adapt in the
Mm.
in the outside world. It's rough out here.
It's rough out here. You know, I work with football these days. I follow a Swedish football team a lot, and I've been working as a sports journalist a lot. And I mean, I've seen it a lot in Sweden, but maybe more in England because it's such a. I think in Germany too, the football pros, when they are in this protected bubble of being celebrated stars or whatever, and then after when they can't play anymore and they come out, it's really tough. And I think it's similar to poker players. It's tough to now you have to grind your day job with you. Maybe you make $15 an hour. I mean, how that's not even a big blind, they say. You know, some of those
Yeah.
guys. So it's tricky. I don't know if there should be some poker. What do you call it? Anonymous. Poker degenerates anonymous or something, where people sit in a ring and talk to each other.
Yeah.
Did you ever
That's
feel?
what we're doing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But this
We're
is this
just
is
you're
something.
just putting it online now, and then everybody's gonna see it.
But I think did you ever feel? I think you have a pretty level mind, but did you feel addicted to it?
It's difficult to say. Like, um, it comes in swings for me. It was never like I couldn't go out of the bubble. As I said, I was always jumping out of it, but I got really excited for a World Series.
Right.
Yes, I was like in the plane to Las Vegas, and when you first see the city, and you know, okay, it's World Series time again.
Yeah.
You got like 65 tournaments to make it happen. Like this is everything you do now. It's that competitive feeling is quite addictive. But then when I stopped playing it, like competitively, it was fine too. So there's always something out there.
I think we all who were involved for all those years got a pretty good chunk of it. But I understand people who get like addicted to it, because it is. How do you try to explain to people who've never been to Vegas, especially during the World Series, what is it that is so warm and appealing when you come to Vegas? What is it? If you would explain that to someone who's never been there, is it possible to explain that?
One thing in Vegas, you're just one person trying to have fun with a million other persons trying to have fun, right? In Vegas, it's the Vegas bubble is like politics are not important anymore. Where you come from is not important anymore, right? When you are there in Vegas, you have a little bit of money. It doesn't even have to be a lot of money, right? When I came to Vegas the first time, I had $300 in my pocket for 3 weeks. Wow. That was it. I was a little bit too optimistic in retrospect, and didn't know what I was getting into. I had like booked a hotel with 1 meal per day. That was it. Plane ticket there, plane ticket back, hotel for the 3 weeks, and 1 meal per day was already booked in the hotel at the buffet. Yeah, I was going to survive. Yeah. So now I have $300 and I was thinking, oh, I'm the best poker player ever. And that's the mindset. You can go into Vegas like that, right? And you're gonna come out alive, and you're gonna have fun for those 3 weeks. Even if you go broke on the second night, then you're just sitting there. And when people say, "Oh, when you're in Vegas and don't have money, it's no fun," it's still okay in Vegas. You can still walk around. It's still a crazy city with a lot of stuff happening, and you can do stuff around nature around Vegas is fine too. Interesting spots to go to, and people are going to be surprised, but there is even a bus. Like the first year I went to Vegas, because I didn't have a lot of money and I was a costume from Germany, I was always taking the bus from the strip. I was staying downtown because it's way cheaper, right? I had my hotel downtown, the El Cortez, thank you, $7 a night, 1 meal per day at the buffet. That's my kind of place. So I went there and took the bus down to the strip, and everybody was looking at me funny, because back then I already had the suit on, and the scarf and shit. So people were like,
"Who is that guy?
Who's that guy? He must be on something." And I was just like optimistic that I'm going to win some money against some people who play worse poker than me. That was the mindset. And you can go into Vegas like that. And but still, if you bring like 10 million, right, to Vegas, you can get the same feeling. There is going to be a game for 10 million where you go broke as quick as $300.
Yeah. I know. And that's it's for everyone. That's a very good description, George. I really like that, because that's also some of the best parts of it was just walking through the hotels, in my opinion. Just walking through all the, like Bellagio, just walking through Bellagio, you could do that a few times, and just looking at people. It's just a great atmosphere to indulge in a way. I really like it too. I miss it a lot, and I want to get back there someday. But I mean, for me, it wouldn't be working with poker, I guess. Maybe play the World Series one more time. Would you? Maybe the main event. I played it once. Do you miss playing in Vegas and playing poker there?
The thing is, I miss it, like playing how I played back then.
Right.
But not playing like a play right now, because I'm old now and my brain is really slow. So my poker brain. So when I sit down and I played like 5 times the last 5 years, I make it count though. I just remembered what I played.
Right.
I played once the main event, as you said. If you do something, one tournament per year, you're gonna play the main event. So in 2018, I played the main event. I played some charity events where somebody invited me, like good old times. I played a charity event once a year that they invited me back. I played that. And then there was the WSOP Europe, where they have a 25K mixed game event.
Wow.
I'm not going to miss that, even
No.
if I haven't played for 4 years. I'm still going to put the 25K on the table and make an appearance, of course.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't even know until the day before. Somebody told me, George, are you playing the mixed? I know, which mixed? Oh, they have in Rosvadov is going to be the 25K. And I actually like that place too. It's the middle of nowhere and everything, but for poker, it's a fine place to play poker. So, damn it, and now I need 25K and I don't have a car. I don't drive cars. I only drive a bicycle. So I need to find a way to get there. So I tried to rent a car. I found a little Fiat they still had. I just, next morning, I wasn't sure, but then somebody said, okay, I can put the 25K. So I just jumped into the car in the morning and drove all the way over there, played the 25K. And what I wanted to say is that my brain was just so slow. I was sitting at the table. I still noticed, okay, you still can do it, but it takes me like 5 minutes to even know how many chips everybody have and what the situation is, what game we're playing, to get up to speed, who's your opponent, what were the odds of the situations. Like I had to go back and dig everything out. And I just noticed, no, you can't without training. Poker is still a sport. You have to be training. You have to know everything to have a decent chance.
Yeah.
So I miss the old days, but when I don't miss now that I can't play the World Series tomorrow, because I know if I go there tomorrow, I'm just gonna be mad at myself that I suck so much.
Yeah, it's like many other things doing. It's like playing golf. I used to play golf when I was younger, and it's really great to play good golf. But if you haven't played much in a year, you go out and play, it's terrible because you're going to suck at it. And I guess it's the same with poker, and it's not fun to play bad poker and just lose and you do mistakes. It's terrible. What year was it and how did it go in Rosvadov, the mixed game?
When was the
2 years
19? 19?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
I think it was 19, yes.
Yeah.
I did okay. I actually didn't play too bad. I didn't cash though, but it was close. It was not like I went there, sucked, I went out. I played a decent tournament and finished like one table out of the money, something like that. And but I met a lot. Everybody was there. So like Daniel was there, Phil Ivey was there, Sean Deep. I think because they were battling it out.
For the bracelets bets, right?
Yeah, and for the leaderboard.
Yeah. Apart from playing 5 times for the past 5 years, what are you doing instead? You're in business, right?
Yeah, we're in business now. So we founded an agency for Twitch streamers because I was doing it myself, and I had met a couple of people that were Hearthstone streamers and were thinking about creating an esports team, and we just tried it out. So we in 2017, after I finished 2016, I played a couple of Hearthstone tournaments with them on the Hearthstone tour, and we noticed that you couldn't win as much prize money as you could earn growing an audience on Twitch and taking care of the content and building your brand around the Twitch presence and not around the esports organization or being very good at a computer game. So and I think in poker it's quite similar. There's a couple of players who are focused on the content and not as much as becoming the best poker player, but just entertaining people on Twitch with poker content, and it's working great too. So that was the idea. We created an agency. It was 4 streamers and 3 people in the office. And in the beginning, it was just, learning how business works, create the company, do taxes, create contracts. And it was a startup. We didn't have a lot of money, so I put up the money we needed. And I had to learn everything and do it myself, like all the all the legislation. I learned how to program. I got a coach, programming coach, Ryan. Thank you. He's awesome. I'm still working with him.
Wow.
And he told me how to program, and then we just started making the content better, trying to find partners for the streams. In the beginning, for the esport, we still had like a poker site, and then we went into more in different brands in Germany that wanted to advertise on Twitch and reach the young audience. Yeah, and now we have 70 streamers.
70 streamers. What games are the most the biggest?
Everything. So we have all the niches. That was like, we went in there and said, of every game on Twitch, we want the biggest German streamer.
Okay.
That was the thing. Yeah, and we have them for most of the games. So it worked out. And we're just providing a nice service for them and for a lot of brands. And we work with some of the biggest brands in the world now to create campaigns for the German market. And
some of the biggest brands like, would you mention which?
Some like McDonald's. We run a couple of campaigns. Yeah, and a lot of German, like one of our biggest partners is Ankerkraut, and that's completely different direction. They're a startup, not because they're quite huge, but they do spices in Germany. So they do,
wow.
Yeah,
and they like
great products, and they like the new audience. And we came up with a plan of like doing cooking shows, and everybody, not real cooks, but like everybody who has a Twitch stream and audience, if you want to run with Ankerkraut spices, go for it. And we manage the whole like brand building for them.
Wow, that's cool.
And it's a great cooperation with them. So we have brands in all of the directions, and we started really small with them, and now we're running big campaigns. And the audience grew a lot too now through the pandemic. People are moving more online. It's moving to digital entertainment. So Twitch grew, our channels grew. We have like over 10% of the German market on Twitch.
That's a lot.
Creators, and over 3 million viewers, like unique viewers per month that go through our channels. So it just went ballistic in 1 year. We started in 2018 when we finally got through with founding the company and everything. And now it's like 2.5 years later, and it grew.
Oh, that's great. I mean, what if you would mention like 2 or 3 things that you Twitch about among those 70 streamers?
Oh, so a lot. You mean like content-wise?
Because the most common, I watch a lot of StarCraft 2, for example. I like to watch them play. I like that strategy game and the tournaments with the South Koreans, but usually the Europeans. I can watch some other Twitch streams, of course, but you say cooking. Is there any other odd things that people like to watch on Twitch?
We have 2 streamers that do farming.
Wow. That's perfect.
They're just out there, with a cam, reacting to the chat. They have a drone. They fly over when they're out there on the fields. They have a camera in the tractor talking to explaining what they're doing. That's one of the odd ones we have. We have, they're called Twitch Farming and Van Hinten. And then we have Achnina, who builds robots and like technical gadgets in her streams and shows how she's programming them and buys the stuff together with the audience. And then, just has like cooking equipment that can be run by the chat, for example.
Wow.
That it can put the speed of the mixer, the chat can decide, stuff like that.
Interaction, right?
Yes, and I like that channel a lot myself too. And then we have a lot of reaction content that grew quite big. So it's just chatting, and you watch stuff other people do and react to it and give your side of it. We have people playing GTA role play. That is just in the GTA world. It's you can imagine like an improv theater in the GTA world. And that's huge in Germany. 500,000 people watch it month by month. So they have a really big community, and we have not just one streamer, but one of our biggest streamers, Orange Morange, for example, he does that. That's when people watch him, is when he does GTA roleplay.
Wow.
And what other odd things we have?
I mean, you're huge than 10% of the German market. Have you developed this into outside Germany, into English-speaking parts or something?
Not yet. All of them are German. We're looking into it. We have partners where if we have campaigns that go internationally, we work together with them. And like the core business is just the German Twitch streamer market. We have a couple of YouTubers, of course, because there is always like posting videos on YouTube. We have some people who actually stream on YouTube, and others that stream on Twitch but post like highlight videos on YouTube. So that there's always a little bit of overlap there.
Yeah, I remember one of the first. I looked back through my PokerTube interviews. I'd done maybe 1,000 or something. And I remember one of my favorite interviews of all time was with Jason Somerville in Bahamas, when he had his first talk about his life and his relation to his family and so on. It was really good, and I really liked Jason. And he did the Run It Up on Twitch, and that was pretty big, right?
Exactly, yeah. I contacted him like a year or two ago when we were branching out a little bit. Now that you mentioned it, I have to call him again.
Yeah.
See how things are going around the world with other agencies that focus on Twitch.
That's great to hear, George, how you sort of transferred from being in that poker world and getting out of it and coming up on the right with your feet on the ground and taking off in a new direction. So this is what you're going to do for quite a while, right? Since you're being successful, right?
Yes, it looks so. We have 10 employees now, so it's
great.
not like I can just say, oh, no, I'm going on tour again.
No, but
I'm running the ship now.
Yeah, I understand. And of course, it's terrible to... I try to look and find the positive things in life. And of course, the pandemic has been horrible. But there are things that comes out of it. Maybe we take better care of ourselves. We're going to be in the future. People are doing other things, and you adapted to it perfectly by working with the Twitch, right?
Yeah, we created a remote company, so nobody is forced to come into an office, right? Everybody can sit at home, all the employees too. So that went well with the situation. It's stuff like that where you know, okay, it's a shitty situation, but you can come out of it if you find solutions.
And you can be in the Bahamas, or you can be in Australia, and you can still work in real time with the same people. It's just adapting to time zones and stuff. So that's really great. I like that. Now also being able to get a family. Right? How old are your kids?
So they're 1 and 4.
1 and 4.
So it's a lot is happening there.
Yeah.
Like every couple of weeks there is something happening.
Is it? Could you imagine how it would be? Because that's one of the. I have 2 kids too, and usually I say it's impossible to explain how it is for someone who hasn't done it yet. Right?
Yeah, definitely that. I'm lucky because I don't care about the future too much. So I didn't think about, how is it going to be? Can we do? But and thought about before that. I just said, well, let's go.
Yeah.
See how it turns out, and then you can adapt more than if you think about it too much or imagine it being a certain way, because that's for sure it's going to turn out a different way.
Yeah, for sure.
That's no secret with kids.
No. That's great, George. I really like that I got in touch with you and got the possibility to talk to you like this, because we had quite a few talks throughout the years, and now it's been like quite a few years since we met. We met in Felden was it 2016? Was that the last time, I guess?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that was always a very nice place to go.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I really miss because it's not about the competition in Felden. It's just the people and relaxed atmosphere and just having some poker on the side. That's how I imagine it being in the future too.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'm gonna go back to Felden if it pops up again in the future.
Yeah, Hjalmar is a Swedish guy working for Intertops Poker who always treats Felden as a favorite place of the year. So every year at Poker EM, when it was in Felden, I think it was 5 years in a row, I went there with Intertops Poker with Hjalmar. So he kind of kept me in the poker game as well a little bit, and I'm really grateful for that. And that's why this podcast, the Swedest Deal, is a good name. You know, not sweetest, Swedest. It's sponsored only by Intertops Poker. So I'm happy we got to do this, George. It was nice to have a talk with you.
Thanks for having me on. And I'm a big Sweden fan. So
excellent. And hopefully we can talk again sometime in the future. And good luck with the twitching. And we'll stay in touch somehow.
Thank you.
Okay, take care now, George. That was a really nice talk with George Danzer. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. This podcast is possible thanks to our teamwork with Intertops Poker. We'll see you soon again.